talk about how to set yourself up for success as an MC, please welcome to the stage Celia Delaney.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. So, here I am again. Hello. It's quite weird. I feel like I'm trapped in my own Groundhog Day. So, let's have a go at deconstructing MCing. It's a bit like taking comedy apart. It just kind of dies at the point where you try and say how it works. But I will attempt that. So this is called the funny thing about MCing. Now, I work as an MC as a comedian as well, so I'm often booked to host, and then they might also try and get their money's worth by me doing a 20-minute set if they can't afford someone famous. So that's what I do for a living, as well as being a speaker, and I coach public speaking as well. So I want to just go through today, because we're just taking a half an hour segment each, 3 tips about what to say when you first get on stage, and 1 bonus tip for you. Okay, so you will find that slides are my nemesis. So the first tip is place. What can you say when you first come up here? Now, I haven't done it, I haven't demoed it, but this morning, if you remember when I came on, I did this. So when I always put my feet on the stage, I will say, "Hello, London." That is mostly to remind me where I am. Some of you know me, know that's just one rolling hangover. So I'm just like, "Hello, Birmingham," and then I know where we are. So it's really nice as well if you can say something about the place that you're in. Just kind of helps everybody to land at that point. So I'll give you an example. When I was emceeing Inspire, our conference in October, I came on and it was in Coventry. So I said, "Hello, PSA, here we are in Coventry. We've been sent here, so we've obviously done something very bad." And then I went on to talk about what that bad thing might be. Okay. Another example is the comedian Phil Wang. Has anyone heard him? He's just broken through onto Radio 4 recently, and I really love him. And he talks about China and all things Chinese, which is very topical, because we're all going to be Chinese soon. And he's Malaysian. And he says about place, now he would have to be in the place he mentions for this joke to work, but he says, "My dad is Malaysian. My mum is from Stoke-on-Trent. That's why she moved to Malaysia." So you can, if you were in Stoke, they would find that hilarious. I've been there. It's pretty desperate place. Like, it's fun though. They like a bit of fun. So you've got to choose how insulting you're going to be, right, about the place. But have a little think before you get up. Maybe they've just been named City of Culture. Maybe the football team have just won something. Maybe they've won a bid to host the Olympics. Whatever it is, tell them something about where they are, and it will just look like you've done some preparation before today. Yeah, usually for me, I think about it on the train on the way there. So that's what I'm like. So my second tip, though, is when you first get on, is to say something about the people. So we're getting everybody to land and to settle in the room before you put the first speaker on stage. That's part of your job as the MC, is to get them to tune in. So say something about the people in the room. So if I'm MCing here, I'm going to talk about speakers and what speakers are like. But most of the time, I'm out there with companies. And one of the wonderful things about MCing is you discover how many weird and wonderful companies there are out there, don't you? Like, we've just heard about bunkering. I genuinely thought that was something else. So it was disappointing. But I once got booked to MC the National Association of Declutterers. That was true. And I've been working recently for a disaster recovery firm. So they go in, and when there's a major incident, like a fire or flood, they go in and they clean it up. So they do a lot of mopping up water and, scraping ashes off the walls. When they explained it to me, what they did on the pre-call, they said, "We do duct cleaning." I thought they said duck cleaning. That was awkward. I went up there and talked about ducks for like a whole minute with them just staring at me like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to back out of this, but anyway. And some of you will know that I recently took up the ukulele. Yeah? You've seen the photos, and I play it here sometimes just to give you all extra pain. And I'm just a beginner. So I said to that recovery firm, I said, look, I've just taken up the ukulele, but if it's a disaster, you can come and save me. And they really liked that. They thought that was cute. The other thing that I've done is sometimes my topics when I'm a keynote speaker are public speaking and sales. Although I'm something of a reluctant sales speaker because I'm not really a sales trainer. So I do a more humorous version of sales, right? And we've got Frank Furness, I just clocked him, and he's like an amazing sales speaker. He's looking at me like, you're a sales speaker? Like, seriously?
I'm sure I heard what he actually said.
I don't even know who you are. I just make it funny, okay? So what I do is I ask for the sales manual. Part of what you're going to say when you first come on stage really should be driven by a bit of research, and believe it or not, I do a small amount. And I read their sales manual first to see what they're instructed in. And this sales manual for this company said about prospecting that you should expose yourself to 150 people a day. I mean, you can't write this stuff, you know what I mean? I just got on there, I was just all over that. I was just like, every time someone got up, I was like, have you exposed yourself today? It ran all day. Never mind what I said at the beginning. I was delighted. And then and another favourite about what you can say about people is a number of us in this room got put forward by a bureau recently for a job with a company. I'm going to talk about it because it hasn't gone ahead. It was for Xerox, okay? It was overseas. The client has decided, in their wisdom, to MC it themselves. We all know how that's going to go. So I'm going to tell you anyway. We were asked by our bureau about going over there. And it was 3 days of MCing. And I thought, oh, God, I don't know if I can do 3 days, I'll be honest with you. I don't have the stamina. But I realised what I could say, if I'd have gone there, was I was going to say this. Guys, it's so great to be here at Xerox. And to be honest with you, I was a bit daunted about doing 3 days until I realised I could just write day 1 and then copy it for days 2 and 3. Come on! I never got to use it. So, obviously for me, like, this is the most fun, is writing the stuff that I'm going to say when I go on. Now, you don't have to be necessarily a comedian to do this. You just have to key into something that's important to them. Yeah, I do the funny, but for them, it's recognizing that you're not just speaking to a blank wall. You haven't just turned up and you don't care who this audience is, you're getting paid. You know, because it can feel like that with keynote speakers sometimes. They're a bit like, I've got my suitcase and you're just another city I'm passing through. You know, but actually we've got to stop and notice the people that are in front of us, okay? So try and think about place and people as your first 2 points. Is that okay?
Yes.
Thank you for joining in. However, it's not a dialogue. No, it's brilliant, thank you. So, my favourite bit to talk about, which I'll take the most time on, when I want to do slides, I point it at the camera. I don't know, like, hey, do you appear to be a laptop today? What I want to say about personality is, I suggest that you have one. That's a good tip, isn't it? I think that not having one as an MC, it's not an option. I don't think it's an option. But then, this is an interesting chat Alistair and I were having, is some people want an MC that will be almost invisible, that makes the day seamless, just makes it run on time, reflects all the glory onto the speakers. If an event booker wants that kind of MC, they shouldn't book me. Yeah, because I'm booked for a different thing, which is that they actually want a bit of a show from me. And I think the same probably from Jeremy as well. We're more positioned as comedian MCs. So they want actually bits of material. They want entertaining throughout the day. So just be aware, Alistair put that on his checklist. Style of MC, what are they really asking for? And I will be honest with them that, you know, if they book me, that's what they're booking. And if they want something else, they should know that in advance. So, you know, if you're going to add value to an event, like why have an MC? Why not have the CEO do it? Has anyone watched a CEO MCing a conference? Yeah, male or female, they tend to be like a cardboard cutout sometimes. If it's not their skill set, which it often isn't, the brilliance of running a company is not necessarily the brilliance of speaking on stage. So why would you be just like them? You need to bring something different, especially if you're being paid to do this. So how can you show your personality early on? That's what I'm interested in. And how can you teach them the rules of this particular game? Because every time you get on stage, it is a game where you are the leader of that game and they are the participants in this. But they need to understand how to play this particular game. It's the same every time you get up to keynote, isn't it? Frank, you're a prolific keynoter. You know, they have to understand what you're like as a speaker and how they're going to respond to you. So teach them the rules of the game. Now, I do another talk called The Funny Thing About Speaking, where I talk about adding humour to talks. And I've often talked about this opener. You know, in stand-up comedy, they tend to come on, don't they, comedians, and they'll claim something about themselves. Often the way they look or the way they sound. It helps everybody settle down. Yes, have a look at me. Yes, this is how I sound. Get over it. Yeah. So I've taught people those openers. We've had some funny ones in the PSA. Chantel Cornelius. Anyone know Chantel? Yeah, so I worked with her on her opener, and now she says, you know, I know that I sound really posh, but I've only got one horse. You know, so just to heighten it up a bit. You know, because that's what she's like. That is totally what she's like. And I was like, just say you've only got one horse, it'll be fine. And there was an American guy that had been homeschooled, a young millennial. He'd been homeschooled, and he made all his money playing poker. That's what he does. And I worked with him on speaking. And he got up after we'd worked together, and he said, I was raised by computers. For years, I thought I was 3D printed. It's quite good. I got that. You will realise I just like my own jokes. This is what. Well, one of the things that people like the most about me is they're like, the thing I love about you, Celia, is you just love your own jokes so much that we have to laugh. So, yeah. But I get it that when so Jeremy's very good as well at writing jokes for people. He has a service for this called Tickle Your Keynote, is that right?
Tickle my keynote.
Sure, well, you know, I was just being polite. So he's an amazing joke writer, and so we both do that. But I appreciate that if I say to a normal person who's not necessarily a comedian, because let's face it, we're not normal, I say, write yourself a joke to open with, they just kind of look at me like, how is that going to happen? So for today, what I've attempted to do is create a system whereby you could perhaps talk about yourself and your own personality. So to do this, there's a postcard on your chair with a photograph on it of me on this stage talking to you, but on a different day, in a different dress. And I'd just love you to write on here this, to help you, this system. Personality. Now, I've invented this. I've just invented it for today, I'll be honest with you. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to suggest that you might want to say, I used to be ... So that means ... So today ... Because I think what's interesting when you're an MC is letting people know a little bit about a past life that you've had. Yeah, a former life, let's say, maybe not a past life, not before birth. I don't want to freak them out too early. But let me give you a few examples that I've written that are very basic. I used to be a teacher. So that means I'm used to people misbehaving. So today, if you get out of line, there'll be detention later where I sit you down and make you tell me all of the salient points of the day. So please pay attention when your speakers come up here. You see how that worked? So this is if you used to be a teacher, obviously. Don't say it if you weren't. Like, obviously, that's weird. Here's another one. I used to play rugby. Sorry, I have B in there, but, you know. I used to play rugby. So that means that I'm used to taking a bruising. So if you want to heckle today, that's totally fine, heckle me. But just don't heckle the speakers. For them, there'll be a panel later where you can ask them questions. You see how that works?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit about I used to be, and I describe myself, and then I'm also teaching you a rule of today's game. There'll be other rules, that's only one rule, but it starts to show them how it's going to be to interact with you. So what do I often say? I might say, I used to be an actress. Can you tell? And then I do tend to do quite a naughty joke. I say to them, I know what you're thinking. Where have you seen me? Well, let me put you out of your misery. I was a dead body on Waking the Dead. Yes. You just don't recognise me with my clothes on. So, but not everybody is going to want to start with that. So instead of that, sometimes I say, I used to be an actress. So that means I'm a creature of the night. Yeah, and this is a good metaphor for me. So during the awards this evening, if you could just keep the noise down when your speakers are up here, that would be much appreciated because I have a serious hangover. Yeah? You see that I do that quite often. You saw it this morning. I talked about not getting home. And, I have a pretty established persona on that front. So that's what I will use. So now it is your opportunity. I would like you to take that postcard and see if you can write this. I used to work in IT. So that means what? And so today, what? I'll give you a few minutes to do that. Thank you. How are you doing? Good? I like this interactivity, Lark. It's easy money. So I just have one final... Do you remember the bonus tip?
Yes.
Do you remember the tip? Yeah? So you've had people, place, and personality. I always say them the wrong way around. Place, people, and personality. So here's my bonus tip. Padding. I don't mean that kind of padding, Mariana. She looks at me like, oh no. It's just, having to fill the time as an MC. This happened to me. I was MCing the West London Business Show for a bureau last year. And I kind of hated him for doing this, but the agent, he was stood there and I'm on stage and he went, Celia, the speaker, the closing keynote, she's now arrived. Phil. I just kind of went, what? It's a really horrible pressure to be put under. And you have got to be ready with some stuff, yeah? You've got to have something in the toolbox for this because it's a terrible feeling to have to improvise and it probably won't go that well. So you need to get on top of this. So, padding, what can you do? Well, here's some ideas. Could you have a quiz ready that you run throughout the day or another type of game, perhaps, that you play? Referring to social media, my goodness, that's a good go-to, isn't it? So we've got a Phil, so I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at the tweets that we've been receiving today. You either have it on your phone or you have it ready with the sound desk that they can go to it to help you out with the Twitter wall. That is a fantastically expandable amount of content. I love social media. I have sometimes made them up, by the way. I've got my phone and I said, let's see what's coming in on Twitter today, and I've just made it up. Because I'm not honestly technically competent enough to unlock my phone with my thumb and get to Facebook or Twitter. So just have to say, Marjorie from Milton Keynes has tweeted in today. Oh, God. What about something topical? You could have it ready, and it might be that you never cover it, but you know it's there. Something that's happened at the moment, and I don't have any material on this, but they've brought out coins, new 10p coins that are all about something British, an A to Z of coins. So you could have that ready before the day. That you could pick from an A to Z of things that are peculiarly British. And if you get stuck with a bit of filling time, you're like, let's take a look at another thing that's peculiarly British. Yeah? Or you might talk about the Olympics, because that's coming, or whatever. Just choose something topical. could you interview somebody? You know, like I just got Deborah up now, and that interview with her about her MC experience could have gone on for any length of time. I was looking at the clock, and I was thinking, we'll do this for 2 minutes, because that's what we've got. But that could go on longer if you wanted to expand your time. Stories, obviously, you've seen MCs being really good at that today. Jokes, can you do any tricks? You notice this list is getting desperate now. And if you really have to dig deep, sing. I'm at the very bottom of the desperation list. I actually start from the bottom and work my way up. As an MC, I literally don't have the skills for the top end yet. Still down here doing tricks. So, I've been Celia Delaney, and I will be around for the rest of the day, dressed in exactly these clothes. So, thank you very much. My name's Celia Delaney, and goodbye.
Thank you, Celia Delaney. Thank you, Celia.